What's going on YouTube? So for 2025, Chevy is updating the Tahoe and Suburban lineup with a refresh. But today we have a special opportunity. That's because Chevy has given us access to the base trim level, the LS model. Typically you never see these around, but today we actually do have access to this model to show you what the base model has. So let's go ahead and get into it. All right, so let's get started here with our front end design. So one of the first things that I notice about this base model is the fact that it doesn't really look cheap up here in the front. Of course, we have updated a grille for 2025. You still have the nice chrome bar that goes across the front, your prominent Chevy badging. The rest of it is finished in a simple bar design, but it is a gloss black. Down at the lower part, you also have another chrome strip going through there. And our headlights are going to be quite premium as well. So you've got standard LEDs on every single version, including this base model. You still have the bracket-shaped daytime running light, and you also have your turn signal indicator up there at the top. Really, the only thing that's different here is the fact that we don't have the dynamic animations that the top models have. It's a little loud. Now, I called up the U.S. Air Force and asked them to stop interrupting our videos, but they didn't listen. So we have to pause every now and then for a fighter jet to go by. You'll know what happened. But anyways, let's get back to talking about this LS. We have an 18-inch alloy wheel. Obviously, this is not very flashy or anything like that. It's just a basic silver finish. You can go all the way up to ridiculously large 24-inch alloy wheels on this refreshed 2025 model. I do also want to mention, of course, you can see we have Suburban branding here on the side. This video goes for both the Tahoe and the Suburban models. They are exactly the same in terms of your equipment. Obviously, the Suburban is just an extended wheelbase with a little bit more space in the back. Mason will talk about that later. Now, let's talk about these mirrors. You will have standard heating and standard blind spot monitoring, which is a very useful feature to have on a vehicle this big.
Now here at the side, like Drew just said, we have the Suburban tested today. That comes in at about 225 inches long, which is absolutely ridiculously big. If you choose the Tahoe version, it's about 210 inches long. So going to be about a 15-inch difference between the two. Now, as far as the rear design is concerned, I'm really happy to tell you that for this refreshed model, they've really left a lot of the premium elements for the higher end models down here on the LS version. So what are some of those features? Well, you'll notice we have a spoiler up top. We also have a wiper integrated underneath. You're still going to get this black bar that goes underneath of the window here. That's going to add a lot of contrast, of course, if you don't choose a black model like this one. And then look at this. These are our taillights. So previously the Tahoe had pretty, cheap-looking incandescent taillights. They have been updated to be LED this year, and they're going to be full LED even here on the LS model. So that goes for your turn signal, your brake light, and your reverse light. Really premium stuff there. Now, as we drop down to the lower area, this is all going to be finished in a body color. You even have a chrome accent. I do want to point out you're going to be missing out on the exposed exhaust outlets that you can get on some versions of this vehicle, so that's a little bit less premium. But overall, I think it looks quite nice. Your tow rating maxes out at 8,200 pounds for the Suburban or 8,400 pounds for the Tahoe. And now let's discuss safety. Now, one of the big upgrades this year is the fact that you're going to have all of your safety gear as standard equipment, even here on this base model. So that's going to include things like adaptive cruise control. Now, the only caveat to that is that GM is offering Super Cruise on most versions of this Tahoe and Suburban. However, it's not going to be on this base model. You have to choose at least the LT trim level or above to option that on. But guys, there's a really unique feature on the inside, so let's dive into that. But first,
if you're new here, we're brothers, and we've been reviewing cars since we were 12
and 16. We may be young, but we love cars.
And we'd love for you to subscribe to be a part of our Car Confections family. Let's learn a lot, have some fun with all the latest cars.
All right, let's go ahead and get to the interior. First, here's our key fob. You've got the typical Chevy key fob. It is a smart entry system, and we also have a remote start built into the fob itself. And getting inside is as easy as pressing the chrome button right there. All right, now checking out the interior. I think you might be surprised when you see the technology, especially that this is the base model. But one of the giveaways is the unique seating configuration. So this is something you almost never see on any type of vehicle, period, these days. We have a center seat, so you can fit 3 in the front, 3 in the back, and 3 in the third row. So this, you heard me right, is a 9-passenger family SUV. So if you've got maximum number of kids, this is probably the way to go. Now, as far as the seats themselves, you can see that they are finished in a cloth on the base model. All the rest of the trims do get a leather. Got a color contrast stitching. Mason and I both noted these are very comfortable seats, though. And they're also still power adjusting with 2-way lumbar support. But let's go ahead and get inside. And now that we're inside, let's look at the rest of the cabin materials. Now, honestly, both Mason and I were surprised that they are still pretty nice. For instance, the door trim over here is covered completely in leatherette on the armrest, center section, and even the top part with a stitching detail. Same goes for the top of the dashboard. Again, all finished in leatherette with a stitching detail. Through here, we have a faux wood trim, which looks pretty nice. More stitched leatherette down through the center section as well. But let's go ahead and fire it up with the standard push button start. Now that it's all fired up, let's get into some of the individual features. First of all, even here on the base model for 2025, you have an 11-inch reconfigurable gauge cluster. So this is fully digital. As you can see, you can go through several different views, including that full screen Google Maps. Obviously, you can't get the head-up display on this trim level. And then as we pull back to the steering wheel, it is still going to be nicely leather wrapped, manual tilt and telescoping. We don't have heating on this model. Over here on this side, you got all your typical 4-wheel drive controls and whatnot. And let's go ahead and talk about interior storage. So with this unique center seat, it is going to be obviously different than what you get normally. First of all, underneath here, when it's folded down, you have a really nicely sized center console storage space. You also have more storage right here and a couple different cup holders. But if I lift it up and put it into seat mode, that locks into place right there. One of the things that's cool is the fact that underneath of the seat cushion, we have another huge storage cubby. So that's really awesome for fitting things. It does have felt lining in it as well. And then in front of that, all of this is just open space. So kind of like a van or an EV, you have this really big open space where you can stick anything that your heart desires. That, of course, is because our shifter is located up here and out of the way for an electronic style one. Just pull down for drive. We do have paddle shifters on the steering wheel as well. And then when we go into reverse, this is a new goodie for 2025. The base model now comes standard with a 360-degree camera system. So you've got all those views that you can go between, including one to help you hook up your trailer. It's very helpful when you are maneuvering a vehicle as big as this. Now, let's return our attention over to this area. Finished in piano black here, we have our climate controls. This is a 3-zone automatic climate setup, so you can just adjust your temperature very simply here with these knobs and physical controls. A few of the extra functions are going to be located in the screen itself. You will notice, though, that in this area right here on other versions, this is where you have your heated seats and ventilated seat options. Neither of those are included as standard on the LS. One thing that is included as standard, though, is this giant and very impressive 17.7-inch display. So this is one of the very largest displays you can get in the entire segment. Again, it's included here on the base model. And as you can see, it just looks super impressive when you pair it with the fact that this is the latest generation with Google Apps built in. So this is our built-in native Google Maps. Looks fantastic. You do still have wireless Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, as well as things like Alexa and other Google apps built into the system itself. Now, obviously, this will come with the standard audio system as opposed to the upgraded 10-speaker Bose. The mirror is going to be a manual dimming option. And then finally, up at the very top, even though we have LED lighting, we do not have a sunroof.
Let's go ahead and dive into the rear seat area. Now, like Drew said, we have 3 seats up in the front, 3 seats here in the second row, and even 3 seats in the third row, so a lot of people will be riding along with you for the journey. Now, let's go ahead and mention space figures first. 42 inches of legroom, about 39 inches of headroom as well. Those are very good space figures, very much segment leading, really. And as far as the seating adjustment, this is Drew's 5'8" driving position. I'm 5'9". We do have quite a lot of additional room. Now, we are on a little bit of a limited time frame, and if you want to see all the measurements and all the nitty-gritty details and stuff like that, we do have a Tahoe High Country review live on the channel as well. Now, as far as other things, the seats do slide forward and back a really good distance, and they also recline a really good distance, so you can certainly have a lot of comfort. Now, speaking of this middle seat, you can have 2 cup holders that fold down right through the middle, and of course you can get captain's chairs, on higher versions of this vehicle. Now, down in the center section, I'm surprised to tell you that we do actually have quite a few features. We have our own zone of climate. Additionally, we have a household-style outlet as well as 2 USB-C ports, so really you can stay nice and charged up here. We're also going to have vents that are integrated out of the ceiling here. If you turn over to the door trim, surprisingly, it's going to be nicely finished just like the front one. Lots of leatherette trim. We even have the faux wood as well as a leather armrest. Down at the bottom, we also have plenty of door storage for any of your belongings. Let's go ahead and check out the third row of seats. So in order to get back here, you just pull this lever twice. It's going to tilt and allow the seat to get completely out of the way. Now let's go ahead and dive into this area. My oh my, we're going to have a ton of space here in the third row. As you would expect out of a Suburban or Tahoe, you just have incredible amounts of space. About 35 inches of legroom for your Tahoe versions. If you choose a Suburban like this one, it's going to be 37 inches of legroom, and both of those come in at 38 inches of headroom. There's just so much space. Like I said, I'm 5'9". There is a ton of thigh support. I would say probably 3 or 4 inches of additional knee room, even with this seat slid all the way back in its tracks. The seat itself is actually quite comfortable, and there's room for 3. We have a cup holder on the side. We also keep USB ports as well as vents coming out of the ceiling. So overall, this is a very nice third row, and because it's so spacious, I'm going to say this is fit for a king. Now, walking up to the tailgate, I want to point out the rear glass does pop independently. Additionally, we do not have a power tailgate on this model, so you will miss out on that feature. They now have the new auto sense function, so when you just walk up, it will beep a couple times and open up, but that's going to be reserved for the higher end models. Now, let's talk about the space that you're going to find back here. We're going to have about 40 cubic feet of space behind the third row of seats. Yeah, you heard me right, behind the third row of seats. Now, if we fold those down, we're going to have about 90 cubic feet, and with all the seats folded, 145 cubic feet for the Suburban. Now, if you choose the Tahoe model, that's going to reduce those figures down a bit, namely in the third row capacity. With that seat fully up, you're going to have quite a bit less space, about 25 cubic feet, and has a maximum of about 122 cubic feet. Now, all those numbers aside, let's talk about some of the features. I am noticing that we even keep a household power outlet back here in the cargo area. That's super nice to see at this price point. But you're not going to have the power folding third row, so that's going to be a little bit challenging to get these seats folded down, considering there is a lot of space between me and the third row. So I imagine for most people, unless you're really, really tall, you're not going to be able, well, I guess I can semi-easily reach up and fold those seats down. It's not exactly super easy, and especially if you're going to be on the shorter side, it's going to be a little bit challenging to get those seats folded down, and definitely challenging to get them folded back up. Now, as far as under the floor, you have quite a bit of space. You could use that for an umbrella, and we also have a spare tire integrated underneath of the bumper.
All right, 60 miles per hour. So, when it comes to the LS version, what engine are you going to have under the hood? Well, of course you'll have the standard engine, but it is a standard V8 engine. It's a 5.3 liter V8, just like what you had in 2024. And what that means is that you have 355 horsepower and 383 pound-feet of torque on board. Those are very compelling power numbers. Obviously, you could see more than enough to get you up to speed just fine.
Yeah, I have no complaints about that, and I think that's actually a huge benefit is that you get that V8 standard. It gives you that nice trucky feel, has amazing engine noise to it. Now you can, of course, as you move up the rungs, get different engine configurations. You can get a 6.2-liter V8 as well, 420 horsepower, 460 pound-feet of torque. There's also the availability of a new turbo inline six-cylinder that has been turbo diesel, shall I say, that has been revised for 2025. That's going to have more horsepower this year, as well as more torque at 495 pound-feet. So that's also an option if you want to have the maximum fuel economy and maximum range in your vehicle.
Really sounds fantastic.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like a base powertrain.
No, not at all. And I do want to clarify, you cannot get the 6.2-liter V8 on the LS trim level. You can get the turbo diesel. Now, as I was accelerating there, you probably heard the 10-speed automatic doing its job. This, of course, is a nice and smooth transmission. It really does a great job in all of the trim levels, of course, of the Tahoe and Suburban.
Yeah, and as far as how the power is routed to the ground, you have standard two-wheel drive or available four-wheel drive. Do be aware the four-wheel drive option does cost, I believe, around $3,000, so that's a bit pricey of an option here on the LS version. As far as your fuel economy is concerned, both versions of this vehicle, we don't have the official numbers just yet for 2025, but since they are carryover powertrains and nothing really has changed in terms of anything that would change the fuel economy, we expect those to remain the same, so about 16 miles per gallon combined out of either this 5.3 liter or the 6.2 liter V8 on the higher end versions of the Tahoe. The turbo diesel option, we don't have official numbers on either, but we do expect that to be in the mid-20 mpg range, probably about 24 mpg, which would by far be your best fuel economy in the lineup. And just kind of cruising down the road here, I want to go ahead and discuss ride quality. Now, I'm very happy that Chevy brought this vehicle out for us to sample, because we've been behind the wheel of the fully loaded high country model. We've been behind the wheel of the RST version. Every trim level pretty much of the Tahoe and Suburban lineup we've driven. And now we're in the base model. And I have to say, the ride quality is so good on this. You are going to be missing out on magnetic ride control. You're also going to be missing out on the available air suspension. But because we have those really small wheels on the outside, they're 18 inches, I believe. Because of that, your ride quality is, I believe, just as good as the higher end versions of this vehicle with the larger wheels. I think really more so than, increasing your ride, it's just to compensate for those more stylish wheel options. So if you're going on the base end here, you're going to have really good ride quality. I also find these seats to be surprisingly comfortable as well.
Yeah, you just don't need those technologies, basically, when you have wheels that are small and big, thick tires like this has.
All right, now let's get our slam dunk and airball out of the way, which is our favorite element, our least favorite element about this Tahoe and Suburban LS. Now, we'll go ahead and start with our slam dunk.
So for the slam dunk, obviously, we're going to say it's really the combination of the space that you have and the fact that you have some really good standard features on this LS version in addition to the space. Namely, the fact that they just kind of rolled out this batch of technology that just goes across all the trim levels. That's really impressive for sure.
Yeah, and I like also the 360 camera. That's a huge benefit on something this big. And the blind spot monitoring. It's just going to really help you drive safer. Now, as far as the airball side of things, we haven't talked about the price just yet, but unfortunately, it's still not what I would call super affordable. It is definitely more affordable than the other versions of this vehicle, but the prices have just risen a lot in this segment. The fully loaded versions are like $90,000, so this one is way more affordable, but it's still not going to be like a super, cheap option for those of you that have big families. All right, let's get our sound level reading. Now, I'm going to be talking a little bit louder because our camera is malfunctioning, so here we go. 55 decibels is what I'm sitting at, which is a very impressive sound level reading. We don't have to sit here and guess, though. We can go to carconfections.com/sound level readings, and that's where we posted all of the cars that we review on this channel.
And the last thing is the warranty information. This, of course, has the 3-year, 36,000-mile bumper-to-bumper warranty, 5-year, 60,000-mile powertrain warranty, and you get 1 complimentary service visit.
But how much is all this going to cost? Well, of course, this is the most affordable version of the Tahoe and Suburban lineup, so it does have the most affordable price tag. We're starting at around $62,500 with destination charges included for the Tahoe. The Suburban will cost a little bit more than that. So as tested today, we're expecting around $65,000 for this model. So that's a pretty good price point, especially when you consider that this vehicle can go about $90,000 in its fully loaded versions. You're saving a lot of money, and you're also getting the maximum seating capacity of 9 passengers. Now, if you're looking to buy a Tahoe or Suburban or any new vehicle, we would encourage you to go to carconfections.com/newcarquotes. Now, the reason you do that is because we have a tool on our website that will connect you with local car dealers in your area to get you the best price. It's also going to give you access to invoice pricing information, which is a great tool for dealership negotiation. If you'd like to take advantage of that, a link is provided in our video description, and we also have a pinned comment at the top of this video. Now let's discuss resale and reliability, because buying a car is about more than just the original MSRP. Now, we'll talk about resale first. As an economics graduate myself, Drew and I took the time to develop what we think is a good estimate for this Chevy Tahoe's potential resale value. We estimate that after 5 years and 60,000 miles, it'll be worth around 54.7% of original MSRP, and after 10 years and 120,000 miles, 20.4%. Now, it's worth noting that that is a pretty good resale value by percentage, especially for this MSRP of vehicle. Additionally, it is going to be a little bit better than other brands such as Ford.
Now, we've also done the same for reliability by developing the Combined Reliability Index. This takes into account several studies from trustworthy sources and combines them in a way that gives you a more holistic picture. In this regard, Chevy is rated very highly. It's actually the second best overall brand.
Now, if you'd like to learn more about our reliability and resale data, as well as our methodology, be sure to go to carconfections.com/resale and carconfections.com/reliability. Buying a new car is a very big decision, so you want to make sure you're making a smart purchase, especially if you're cross-shopping between different vehicle brands. And guys, that's going to be it for our in-depth review of the refreshed 2025 Chevy Tahoe and Suburban. Of course, this is the base model, so we hope you enjoyed watching content on this base model. We try and get all the different trim levels on this channel, so no matter what price point you're shopping at, the high-end, high country, or this more basic LS version, that you can see what you're going to get. So if you enjoyed seeing that perspective, we'd really appreciate it if you hit that subscribe button down below. By subscribing, you're going to get the latest car reviews such as this. You're also going to be a part of our Car Confections family. We have a lot of fun on this channel. I promise you won't want to miss out. If you're already a part of our family, thank you so much for your continued support, and we'll catch you next time as we sample more of the latest automotive delicacies.